Yeah.
I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won.
Yeah. Man.
I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won.
Yeah.
I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Yes, you seeing the screen right. It's just the two of us, not the three of us, but just the two of us.
Wasn't that a famous song?
Yes. Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Both Mike Washington and Charles Bishop are out on assignment. Can you think about that? With that being said, I brought in the best pinch hitter in the game, AD Drew. We're going to muscle through and make sure you get your updates on your HBCU sports. As you know, every other Thursday, we're here in HNPE Arena during the Thursday night showcases. I like to talk about it, where you have the SWAC women's basketball. You also have the MEAC women's basketball, so we'll keep you with updated scores throughout. And I'm here live in the arena, as I said, getting a glimpse, if you would, from the suite, President's Suite here at Texas Southern University, with the Later Tigers hosting Southern Jaguars. This is a big matchup, as we said on Tuesday, for both of these teams. Currently it's 0-0, 8:47 left in this first quarter as it just had tipped off. Also, as we get into it, show a glimpse at the court so they can see that we are honest with our analysis. Give a little update and let you know as Texas Southern is going to the line, if you would, to shoot two with 8:47 left in the half. As we're giving these scores, we'll keep it up there and then we'll go back to us. Howard, Delaware State. Howard is up 34-29 with 10 minutes left in the third. That probably is not surprising to anybody. But the big one, I'm going to tease it out a little bit. So we're going to go to North Carolina Central hosting Morgan State, where the Eagles are up 30-23. That's 5:30 left in the 5:38 left in the second quarter. The Cotton State, South Carolina State tips off later at 6 o'clock Central Time, so it should be tipping off right about now. The game everybody wanted to keep their eyes on was that Maryland Eastern Shore hosting Norfolk State. Still a good one, 24-20, 8:37 left, third quarter. So a lot of defense in that game, as you can imagine, with just a score of 24-20. Let me give you an update in terms of SWAC, as many of the games here have just tipped off, but we'll give you those updates. You have Alabama State hosting Mississippi Valley. They're up 4-0 with 8:16 left in the first quarter. You have Alabama A&M trailing Arkansas Pine Bluff 4-3, 7:28 left in the first quarter. This is a game both you and Charles said watch out for, keep your eyes on it. So we will do just that. Bethune-Cookman at Jackson State is 0-0 with 9:56 left in the first quarter. Grambling at Prairie View. Grambling is up 6-2 with 7:05 left in the first quarter. Texas Southern did hit the free throw, 1 of 2, so they're up 1-0, 8:26 left in this first quarter. FAMU and Alcorn State tipped off now, but there's no score in terms of that game. With that being said, AD Drew, welcome to all our lab listeners in terms of episode 781 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, radio show and podcast, a show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports, for institutions large and small, from the NEIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture. HBCU athletic aesthetics facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta, along with my co-host, Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We're filming from our home studio, in this case, my home work establishment, H&P Arena. Sending a signal live to KQH 1230 in the studio. See the Texas Radio Hall of Fame, multi-Hall of Fame Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that being said, AD Drew, how are you doing today?
One of them days, Doc. One of them days, but I'm here. That's all I'm gonna say. Update 26-25. UMES 640 remaining in third.
Ooh-wee. That should be a good one.
Yes.
You know, one of the news out there, and we've seen this kind of play out a couple of times, so it's always hurt hard. Even those fans that like to pick on Jackson State.
Johnny Thornton wanted to know if we were talking men or women. So all those
women,
scores that Dr. Cavil and I just gave of on the women's side, Johnny. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that you broke that up. As you know, Thursday is the showcase for the women. Saturday is the double headers, and then Monday for the men. That's both NEAC and SWAC. Thursday, you do have the OVC, which is a double header. You have women's and men's. And then you have the men in terms of the CAA, which is A&T and Hampton if they're playing, as well as Saturday. Their women for the CAA play on Friday and Sunday. Just to give you the schedule updates. That'll change near the end of the year because you'll have a couple of doubleheaders trying to make sure they get their full games of conference games in and then give them some time to rest before they go into the tournament. So you'll see Thursday night games that will actually have both men's and women's last 2 weeks of the season. We got a little time to talk about that. As I was saying, I want to get into the Jackson State urge to seek new stadium. We've seen this before, and while we may push and joke with Jackson State, you know, it would be really nice if they would get the support from the state necessarily to get it done. But there's a Jackson City Councilman, Kenneth Stokes, is adding a new urgency to the long-running debate over the future of Jackson State football hall. It died down recently, but he's tying it directly to the University of Mississippi's medical center plans for a major cancer center expansion. We've heard a little bit about that from a lot of folks in Jackson, particularly related to Jackson State, talking about the fact that part of the reason they were able to push the idea of a new stadium is that the medical center folks want the land associated with the current stadium that Jackson State plays in, Mississippi Memorial Stadium.
And for those who don't know, the stadium is pretty much adjacent to the hospital there in Jackson. So it absolutely makes sense what you're saying.
Exactly. So the comments said land and the momentum has already been building at the Capitol. Mississippi Rep. Robert Johnson reintroduced House Bill 117. It seeks $40 million in state seed money for planning, design, and early construction stages of a new Jackson State stadium. The appropriation is set to take effect July 1st, 2026, if approved. While the stadium conversation has often centered around tradition and game day atmosphere at the Vet, Stokes' framing shifts the discussion towards broader public priorities, specifically UMMC's ability to expand without cutting corners. UMMC has publicly been raising money towards a new, roughly $250 million cancer facility. It is described as a major step in improving outcomes in a state that faces some of the nation's toughest cancer metrics. Mississippi Veterans Memorial Stadium, which opened in 1950, is owned and operated by Jackson State. It's long been a landmark for Tiger football, but competing needs around the surrounding property have repeatedly surfaced in stadium discussions, including past entrants from UMMC and redevelopment options. It goes a little further into detail, as you know. AD, what are your general thoughts? Do you think, for whatever reason, this time it can get pushed through, or this is another unfortunate opportunity where, you know, there's an opportunity, in my perspective, that the state and city could do the right thing legislatively is supporting perennial institution in its program in the state, regards to what they bring to the table. Most recently, in terms of the economic framework that they bring, or is this case where people are going to find a reason just not to get it done?
Well, when you consider why they want the land, for with the land being used for medical purposes, it kind of gives a sense of urgency. And we know state of Mississippi, when it comes to things such as health disparities, are always at the bottom of the list. So for that reason alone, I support personally, I would support the expansion. But if you're going to expand and displace Jackson State, what is the plan? This looks like the start of the framework of a plan, Dr. Cavil. But that $40 million still leaves a lot of questions out there for me. And who's going to foot the bill for? Because the $40 million is not going to get it done. Everybody, $40 million does not buy you a new stadium in today's age. And a couple of things.
Yep.
Where is the stadium going to go? I know the thing in the past has been, let's get the stadium on campus, and if that's the case, fine, so be it. But when you move that stadium on campus, what about the infrastructure? Because Dr. Cavil, you've been to so many of these stadiums that we've got in this on one little corner of the campus, and getting to the stadium, egress and egress from the stadium is so tough, because all it is a 2-lane road that takes you in and out of those stadiums. Well, if you only drawing 10,000 people, we might be able to work around that. But when you're leading FCS in attendance, such as Jackson State does, that needs to be a serious consideration as far as where you place it and what additional funds are going to be needed to support the infrastructure, roads in, roads out, sewer, plumbing, all electrical grid, all that stuff. And who's going to foot the bill for that? Does Jackson State foot part of that bill? Does the city? Does the county? Does the state? Can you get some federal help on that? Those are some of the things that you look at. Plus, last thing, and I'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Cavil. We are seeing stadiums move from just a place where we do at our level 4 to 5 games a year to becoming more entertainment or mixed use area.
Yeah, high rent district. Yeah.
So what can we do because building a stadium today in 2026 just for 5 games does not make economic sense, Dr. Cavil. So what other uses can we get out of it? Can we attach some dorms to it? Can we attach some classrooms? Can we attach some labs? Can we attach a food court? What can we do to get people in there more than just 5 days a year plus graduation and a couple track meets or whatever, soccer or whatever else you do? And will that facility be kind of open to the community during non-football games? Will you have that shopping plaza? We'll just call it shopping plaza surrounding it that will draw in tax dollars from the community. A lot of things to go with. And please, let's make sure you got those sweets up in there, Dr. Cavil, because we got to take care of you for your sweet life.
I appreciate it. I certainly will be disappointed if I don't get my sweet. It's just something when you start using it, you get a little bit spoiled. Let's talk about another one in this before we end this first segment. I teased out on Thursday. I wanted to take a little deeper dive in terms of the news that came out that North Dakota State will be joining the Mountain West Conference. And obviously for them, they're extremely excited. A lot of people are saying about time, but they're leaving the FCS. And that is the highest level that we have HBCUs participating on. We have exactly 21 HBCUs that operate at the FCS Division I level. That's 12 members in the SWAC, obviously, that people know. 8 football members in the MEAC. They do have 10 total members. And then you have what we call 3 independents, 2 out of the CAA, what was once called the Colonial Athletic Association, now called the Coastal Athletic Association, and Tennessee State, which is part of the Ohio Valley State since the 80s. So the question becomes, does it do anything for the independents? in terms of their ability to go to the playoffs, because that's what they're pushing for in terms of not being able to participate in a bowl game, specifically the Cricket Celebration Bowl, which matches the champion of the MEAC versus the champion of SWAC. But you've heard this talk about scheduling. You heard this talk about why you would schedule in one way versus another way, in case you can have an opportunity to get an at-large bid to the playoffs, which is something that the independent programs that don't win the conference would be looking for. So is it that much talk with just one team leaving? And I think a lot of that is because they dominated the FCS level when you talk about having 10 championships in 15 some years.
Yeah.
Essentially something quite ridiculous in terms of the percentages. What does that look like in terms of opening up a spot? Can HBCU fill that spot?
What does it do? Obviously, it opens up a spot with North Dakota State being a perennial FCS powerhouse. It's pretty much their invitational for the last 20 plus years.
Right.
But when I want to look at Dr. Cavil, correct me if I'm wrong, they were in the Missouri Valley Conference.
That's correct.
Okay, let's look for the domino effect. So now the Missouri Valley has lost a team. They've lost a couple of teams recently. Now the Missouri Valley is going to go and try to poach some teams, or as you say, conference churning, for survival.
Yep, good point.
Tennessee State, you need to be prepared. They've already raided the OVC to the point where the OVC had to merge with the Big South for football. Now you've had Tennessee Tech leave the OVC Big South. How much more can that combined conference take, Dr. Cavil? Because that's where it seems like the Missouri Valley likes to go get their next member from.
Right.
So you ask how this affects HBCUs. Tennessee State, I think, is the one that's going to feel it first, because should the OVC Big South fall apart, Tennessee State, where are you going to land? You've got two willing people to let you lay on their bed and land in their living rooms, but are you willing to swallow your pride and go to one of those two conferences, that be the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference or the Southwestern Athletic Conference? Number two, you talked about scheduling, Dr. Cavil. Have you paid attention to the schedules and the differences in the schedules that have been released thus far between the SWAC and the MEAC? And what I mean by that, look at the opponents on the MEAC schedules versus the non-conference opponents on the SWAC schedules. From what I've seen thus far, Dr. Cavil, all the SWAC teams look like Celebration Bowl or bust with their schedule. No schedule that I have seen thus far leaves any room, should they not win the East or the Western Division, for them to get it at large, because everything is either FBS for checks or D2 NAIAs in those non-conferences. The MEAC teams have built their schedules thus far where they can still possibly get it at large, because they do have a number of FCS teams that they play. And part of that we know is geography, Dr. Cavil. So, those are the two things that it kind of brings up to me with the discussion that we're talking about right now.
Very true. I would say there's the one exception in the SWAC, which is Prairie View, one of the first ones to release their schedule, and they have no D2s on the schedule. And the two FCS they have, at least at the end of the last year, were FCS top 25, so they're likely to be top 25 as well. So that's the only example where you, to your point, where you see a schedule that would be in position if they win both of those games. Certainly, even splitting those games may put them in a good position if they do not win the Western Division. But I think for the most part, and even greater than for the most part, there is a bullseye on making it to the Celebration Bowl or bust, regardless of schedule releases. what's on the schedule. But I did want to tip a cap to Prairie View because I think it was very purposeful the way they did the schedule. Let's take our first break. Great discussion. Let's come on the other side. We're going to get into the men's mid-major rankings in week number 6. We'll be right back after this next break.
From cancer care to accidental injuries to cardiac care, we all know that there are times that you can't control what happens in your life. But with Globe Life Family Heritage, you can be prepared to weather the storm when it comes. Call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com. With over 25 years of serving communities, Dr. Beverly Eagles Rogers is here to help you and your family through difficult times. Dr. Beverly takes pride in Globe Life being one of the few companies that returns 100% of premiums to clients that stay healthy. So for more information, call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com.
And we have to fund our kids in these colleges, and we have to make sure our kids have seats in these colleges.
Now, what about HBCUs? You mentioned.
Absolutely. You got to fund them all, and you got to make sure they're properly funded. You know, the real reason why I went after Comcast and Charter, it didn't have anything to do with my cable networks. It didn't. What happened was a gentleman wanted to do the Black College Sports Network in partnership with the HBCUs. And Comcast did not accept it. And that would have made a lot of money for these black colleges.
Absolutely.
And it would have educated the Black College Sports Network. This is what he wanted to do. That would have educated a lot of black kids. And when they didn't do that, that's when I came off the bench and said, okay, I'm going to light you up like a Christmas tree. Okay. That was the real reason why I got into it, was when I saw what happened with the Black College Sports Network, which I don't own. I just knew.
Why did you buy it?
I just knew. I just knew that these black.
I like that talk.
All right. I knew that these black colleges were going to benefit, and these black kids were going to get the education that they deserved and not have to pay.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a loss, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Mills inside the HBCU Sports Lab. As you see, we have a live look in at the game, and Southern is pulling away early in this first quarter. They are up 24-13. So the Jaguars came to Houston with something to prove on their mind, and they're getting it done early. We'll keep you updated to let you know what that's looking like, and it is, again, 24-13 with 9:29 left in the first quarter going on there. Second quarter, going on there quickly. FAMU is up over Alcorn 18-14 in the first quarter. Alabama State is up over Valley 26-16 in the first quarter. Alabama A&M is up over Pine Bluff 21-9 with 9:10 left in the second quarter. Bethune-Cookman is up over Jackson 14-6, 150 left in the first quarter. Grambling over Prairie 27-24, 8:48 in the second quarter. This is one that Prairie is going to get probably at home. This is the one they need to keep their eyes on. We'll see, as at least is close early in the matchup. And Southern, as I said, is up over Texas Southern 24-13 with 9:47 left in this first quarter. We can quickly give you some MEAC updates. I know that one's hot on people's mind in terms of that Norfolk, Maryland Eastern Shore game, and it's still a good one.
33-36.
33. 1:17 left in the third quarter. Central is still up over Morgan State, and they stretched it out a bit, 41-26 at half. Howard is up over Delaware State, 51-43 at 9 minutes and 3 seconds left in the fourth quarter, I should say. Coppin State is up early over South Carolina State, 16-5, 9:14 left in the second quarter. Let's get up to mid-majors for the men to see what we caught. We were so excited in terms of what Morehouse did with the big victory over Tuskegee. Obviously, some things kind of crowded that, but eventually we moved on and started talking about the basketball. And then Morehouse, unfortunately for them, ran into a buzzsaw, losing 2 straight. They're at 14-9, 14-5, and lost, being in first place. But they're just a half game behind. Get a victory over this week, they can at least tie, and they would have the tiebreaker, which was so important. But we'll see what that looks like, because the East race is certainly one to keep your eyes on, as is exciting. With that being said, Morehouse is outside of the top 5. So look at those that are receiving votes. Morehouse is still there. 14-9, 14-5, as we said, 35 points just outside. Although Clark Atlanta leads them in the standings, Clark Atlanta is behind them receiving votes. 17-6, 14-5 with 24 points there.
Actually, Clark got a victory after you did that, Dr. Cavil.
Which is the half game lead.
Which is the half game. So 18-6, 15-5.
Good point. Which probably would have pushed them ahead of Morehouse and voting if it took place after the fact. So I'm glad you stand on top of it there, Drew. Stillman Tigers, 14-9, 9-2 as we proceed with 23 points. Florida Memorial Lions, solid at 17-8, 9-4, 16 points. And Arkansas Baptist, the Buffaloes, still in the mix. Not a huge conference schedule, but they do sit 13-14, which is certainly a solid schedule, 2-1 with 14 points. Let's get in the top 5 to see who jumped in there. We got those Fayetteville State Broncos rolling, 15-6, 9-2, 37 points were not ranked, as they are in the 5 spot in week number 6, bringing us to number 4. And at the 4 spot, we have Miles Golden Bears. Need to make that update. Keep wanting to call them Rams. They're not going to be too happy about that. We do have it right in the standings there, Golden Bears, 16-5, 14-5, 44 points. They move up a spot. They should be happy about that. Bringing us to number 3 in the rankings is Tuskegee. The Golden Tigers sit at 17-5, 16-3, 53 points, and they slide up a spot, as they are now number 3, previously in the 4th spot. And number 2, Langston Lions, 19-4, 14-3, 4 first place votes, 68 points. They stay in the 2nd spot as they are rolling, closing in to see if they can find a way to get a regular season championship and make a run in the tournament. And certainly at this point, an NAIA tournament run may be one that we look at as well. At number 1, we have none other than the Virginia Union Panthers. Only team on the men's side with 20 victories. They have 21 to be exact. 21-3 is their overall record. 10-2 in the conference. 6 first place votes, 79 points, and they remain in the 1st spot as they just continue to play some really good basketball. With that being said, Drew, what are your thoughts in terms of the top 5 or the entire rankings for that matter in week number 6?
Obviously, I have to start off with my disappointment, but deservedly so that Morehouse is outside of the top 5, especially in a week-to-week poll. When you lose 2 of your 3 games that week, it's kind of easy to justify the slide. Now, makes for some interesting. We're gonna start with the teams on the screen, Dr. Cavil.
Okay.
We've got a 3 versus 4 matchup on Saturday.
I like it.
As Miles travels to Tuskegee to face you got the Battle of the Golden Tigers versus the Golden Rams. Miles cannot catch Tuskegee on Saturday, but they could damn sure make it interesting by defeating the Golden Tigers. And we talked about the 6-7 matchup according to your poll, Dr. Cavil, with Morehouse and Tuskegee facing off of each other. The winner of that game will pretty much be in control of the SIAC East.
Good point.
So the good thing is, everybody, whichever one of those games that you choose to watch, and I know which one I would want you to watch, you can get them both on the SIAC network on this Saturday. So great that we can bring this content to you, and it's very easy to access. The only drawback to the SIAC network, where I like SWAC TV over the SIAC network, is because SWAC TV has an app, and SIAC network is still web based. They haven't got to the point where they can add the app yet. But all you gotta do is type in the URL into your Safari or Chrome on your phone, and you're still good, Dr. Cavil.
Very true. Great point when you break down the difference between the two, and still how easy it is to access the SIAC in terms of what do you want to get done. With that being said, let's take our next break. We'll come back on the other side and focus on the major division and get in a little discussion on what Drew thinks about the top 5 at that level. We'll be right back after our second break.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a state, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
From cancer care to accidental injuries to cardiac care, we all know that there are times that you can't control what happens in your life. But with Globe Life Family Heritage, you can be prepared to weather the storm when it comes. Call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com. With over 25 years of serving communities, Dr. Beverly Eagles Rogers is here to help you and your family through difficult times. Dr. Beverly takes pride in Globe Life being one of the few companies that returns 100% of premiums to clients that stay healthy. So for more information, call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
So we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a loss, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Let me give you another update here in the H&P Arena. Texas Southern is still down. Hadn't been a lot of scoring since we last talked, and they just scored a bucket as you see there. So now the score is Southern 24, Texas Southern 17 with 4 minutes and counting left in the second quarter. In terms of other scores, Tennessee State is playing tonight. They're at South Indiana. They are trailing 55-43 in that matchup, and it is the end of the third. This get you back into the MEAC, give you an update of that hot score. Norfolk State has taken the lead. They are up 42-40.
And that's the first lead of the day for Norfolk.
First lead of the game, according to Drew, with 6:57 left in the fourth quarter. Get all the way to the fourth quarter. Give up the lead. It should be interesting following the end of that matchup. Howard is still up and in control over the Delaware State Hornets, 60-47. 5:27 left in the fourth quarter. You have North Carolina Central hosting Morgan State. The Eagles are taking care of the Bears, 42-27, with 8:19 left in the third quarter. Coppin State seems in control of South Carolina State. It's still early, 20-12 in the second quarter with 4:26 left before halftime. And in the rest of the SWAC, we have FAMU at Alcorn State. The Braves have now taken the lead in that contest. They're up 23-18 with 4:59 left in the second quarter. You have Alabama State up over Mississippi Valley State as the Hornets host the Delta Devils, 34-23 with 3:30 left in the second quarter. You have Alabama A&M dominating Pine Bluff. We said keep your eyes on it. Bulldogs had other things on their mind, and they are up 36-16 with 3:55 left in the second quarter. Bethune-Cookman is pulling away from Jackson State 20-8 with 7:25 left in the second quarter. Grambling is now in full control at Prairie View, 41-31 with about a little less than a minute left before halftime. You have Texas Southern trailing Southern now 26-17 with 3:15 left, and I should say actually 27-17 with 3:02 left as I look at the Jumbotron here in the H&P Arena. With that being said, AD, let's get into the major division on the men's side and see what happened over the week in regards to what the top five looks like. Well, we know one thing, all the top five teams are still in the poll rankings because nobody dropped out. But let's look at those receiving votes where it is very crowded with a lot of those teams out of the SWAC. You have a solid Howard Bison team with the winning records at 5-3, 4-9. But you have the Southern Jaguars that got 2 games at home, had a close one, even taking it in overtime and had to come back, but they got it done. So they're up 7-4 in conference race, 37 points, solidifying that third position at this stage of the conference race behind Bethune-Cookman and a surprise to some, UAPB. With that being said, Alabama A&M Bulldogs are at 6-5, 30 points. They were able to get some big wins over the past week. You have Jackson State Tigers that have bounced back, and they're at 6-5 with 26 points. Florida and the Rattlers are still in the mix as well, 6-5 with 21 points in terms of what they're getting done. Let's look at the top 5 in this race now. At number 5, North Carolina Central, the Eagles. They were number 2. They split this weekend. Tough one. They're still 5-2 and solid, but they did fall 3 spots. They have 59 points as they come in this week number 6 at number 5. Let's look at number 4 in the rankings. Tennessee State Tigers sit at 10-4. They slide up a spot. They had 2 big wins. One of them they dominated, as you do it to a team that was winless. They treated them just that way and made sure they stayed winless in the OVC. They improved to 10-4 in the conference race, sitting at 68 points. More importantly, in terms of our power ranking, they move up. Sneaker Shop Talk, you know he likes this. Good evening, Dean. Professor Drew in the HBCU family. See a little bit more of Sneaker Talk as his Tennessee State Tigers, at least on the men's side, are solid. You know, his chest is out there a little bit more these days, AD. But I can't blame him. With that being said, let's get in number 3. UAPB Golden Lions. We talked about them sitting in the second position in the SWAC. 8-3, very solid campaign this. Some people are still not believing in the Golden Lions, but they don't care about everybody else. They're doing their thing, 87 points, and they move up a slot this week as they took 2 in the conference standing to continue to improve and move up the rankings. At number 2 this week, we have Morgan State Bears that sit at 6-2, 2 first-place votes, 100 points, 3 position. They had a big victory this past week and have shown that, no, they are for real. We'll continue to see this upcoming week where it really gets interesting. We'll get a chance maybe to talk about that in the next segment. But before we do that, let's look at number one. Number one remains number one. Second consecutive week was Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. Had a close one. Actually took them to overtime. Probably some say some of the best games of the year, even though they had that one loss to Southern. Texas Southern tried to get out of it with a win, but it's something about that box down there in Daytona. They improved to 10-1 with their 2 wins, 8 first-place votes, 107 points. Even the Panthers took them deep into the matchup, but they just winning this year. Remain first place, 107 points. They're controlling the first place position in terms of first place votes and total points. The Bethune-Cookman Wildcats remain number one in week number 6. Drew, what are your thoughts on the top 5 in week number 6?
Whew. Kind of tough here. Dr. Cavil, if I were to disagree with your poll with it just being you and I, would that be proper?
No, you good. You can do it.
Well, I don't. I just wanted to know if it would be proper. I don't disagree with it, but I just had to ask the question.
Especially since you have the control now, it'd be a little hard. While I can mute you, it'd be hard to keep it muted.
There you go. What I find interesting, looking at it, and one of my go-to stats, Dr. Cavil, has been a scoring margin all season. Whereas Bethune-Cookman's scoring margin, Dr. Cavil, is more than double what their next the next closest team is. Bethune's score margin is 11.4 points per game. And for the layman basketball person, I don't think you realize how much an 11.4 scoring margin is. You're averaging in conference games, you're averaging winning by double digits, Dr. Cavil. And that's tough considering that everybody usually in conference knows the players, knows your tendency. You get your film, and there's a lot going on. For you to be winning your games by double digits, that's a shout out to the coaching staff over there on the beach and those players who are over there on the beach. By the way, number 2 in scoring margin, ironically, Dr. Cavil, Arkansas Pine Bluff at 4.5. So, but now here's the anomaly, Dr. Cavil. When you look at the BAC,
right?
Howard, 12.6 scoring margin in conference games, Dr. Cavil. Where they at in your top 5?
They're just outside. They're number 6, so they're not there.
They are not there. Whereas North Carolina Central are tied at number 2 with only 2-point scoring margin difference, which means they're winning the close games.
Right.
Howard, with the record, when they win big. But when they lose in the close games. That's what that tells me when you're at a 12.6 scoring margin. It's either win big or lose a close one. So
we saw that this Monday. It was out of conference game where they went home and had Yale on the ropes. Yale gets a desperation 3 pretty much at the buzzer and takes it in overtime and then pull away. To your point, can't pull off those close games, whether it's non-conference or conference this year.
Yeah. And Tennessee State, I don't know, Dr. Cavil, they might be doing something special over there in the OVC. My question to you, Dr. Cavil, SWAC. Is it Bethune or bust for the SWAC as far as that? I mean, if anybody else comes out on the men's side besides Bethune, Dr. Cavil, the way they've been playing, will we as SWAC throw your fandom aside for your particular school? We talk about conference overall. Will we be disappointed if Bethune doesn't win this the way they've been playing ball this year, Dr. Cavil?
Oh yeah, particularly if you just love good HBCU basketball, they've really played well. They got a couple of key non-conference wins. They represented the SWAC, the win, I believe, over South Carolina State. Have some other non-conference D1 wins. And they have gotten better over the season. And they've been able to push people out and win close games, both on the road and at home. So it tells you they're able to win in a lot of different facets. They can push the ball up and down the court in high-scoring contests. They can be slowed down. and get into a rubber match. So yes, particularly if you're the Wildcats from Daytona Beach, as you saw, fan Emma there. Yeah, you talking about the Wildcats. This is a chance for them to make another statement in SWAC. They got their first SWAC team sport win in baseball last year, and now all of a sudden they're getting it done in basketball. They did have a winning record in football, so even maybe turning the corner there, which for the rest of the SWAC, that's a scary thing when you think about what Bethune-Cookman did in the MEAC for a decade when they really dominated everybody, maybe a little over a decade. So if they get things rolling, boy, watch out. The SWAC just gets that much deeper in terms of the conference. But as we talk about basketball, particularly on the men's side, no question about it, Drew. I think, it's bust for the Wildcats, particularly their fans. They want the reason to get excited about some basketball.
Yeah, I think it's going to really be interesting. I'm gonna be honest. Outside of no, they be real. I don't want to see a Cinderella this year in the SWAC. I really don't. I want to see Bethune in that championship game. Right now, I haven't identified who I want to see as an other opponent, but this is not the year where I'm really looking to see a Cinderella in the SWAC, because the way Bethune has played ball this year, especially the way they could dominate inside, outside, from behind the arc, and everything else, they look like a team that could, especially if they could get off that 16 line, which they probably aren't. But if they can get off that 16 line, Dr. Cavil, they look like a team that could get one in the tournament.
I agree with you. I don't think they're going to get off that 16 line. It would be nice. But, boy, I sure would take a Bethune-Cookman Tennessee State first four matchup if we had to do it that way. Let's keep our eyes on that. Let's take our last break. We'll come back on the other side and give you some of these scores at halftime. And then we'll get you some matchups to keep your eyes on the men's side of things coming up Saturday for the doubleheaders and then on Monday. Anything else, Drew?
When we come back, there is one question from the chat from the first segment, and I think we need to just touch on.
Let's do that when we open it up, and then we'll get into some of those matchups. Let's take our last break and do just that on the other side, Drew. This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Sports Lab. As we get into the halftime, Texas Southern has made a little bit of a push as they are up. Still down, but they're just down by 7. Southern is leading 29-22 at the half in terms of that matchup. As we get into more of those scores for the SWAC, let me give you the rest of those as you have Alcorn State leading FAMU at the half, 29-26. You have Alabama State leading at the half, 39-30. You have Alabama A&M that continues to dominate UAPB, 44-18 at the half. You have Grambling up over Prairie View at the half, 43-31, and 49 seconds before half, you have Bethune-Cookman leading Jackson State 29-21. Let's go into the OVC, give you a final there. Still 4:10 left in the fourth quarter, but South Indiana still controls that matchup as they start to pull away a little bit, 67-51 against the Tennessee State Tigers in that matchup. In terms of the MEAC, what's going on there? You have Norfolk State holding on at Maryland Eastern Shore, 55-51, 32 seconds left in that matchup in the fourth. Boy, it should be fascinating going down the stretch there. I'm sure there's a lot of noise going on in that arena for that matchup. North Carolina Central is up by 11 with 3 minutes left in the third quarter over Morgan State. That is 46-35. You have Coppin State at the half over South Carolina State, 33-16. And you have Howard in a victory over Delaware State. It has gone final there, 68-51 as the Bison take down the Hornets of Delaware State. So, with that being said, I know there was some discussion that you said we needed to look into. Let's talk about that because you talk about the CA. Hampton and Howard are not. Hampton and North Carolina A&T are not playing the men's games tonight, while the rest of the conference is putting in games. What you got?
All right, this question comes from EA. This is what we were talking about. The scheduling with the teams, Dr. Cavil, and EA asked this question: if you're unwilling, unable to host first round, so what about scheduling for the playoffs?
Yeah, good question. I think that's an excellent point. That if you're going to go to the playoffs, I do think you need to have the mentality that you want to host. Now, my question is, does it make sense to host in the first round, even though you know teams in the first round at home tend to win, when you're not probably going to have a significant home crowd because that's Thanksgiving weekend? And regardless of what we want to believe or whatever, we're still culturally in a position where we celebrate with our family. And outside of the Turkey Day Classic, which is regionally wise, it's still just based on, Alabama State went to Tuskegee that come to that game. Pretty good matchup in terms of the fans that get out. They pretty much fill the stadium. And it's a 50-year tradition. Everybody know where it is, where it's coming. Obviously, you have the Bayou Classic, which now is nationally, if not global, some perspective where folks come home, come back to New Orleans. A lot of folks now have their Thanksgiving on Thursday, and they spend the rest of their weekend celebrating HBCU culture. You're asking a group of individuals, mostly African American Black, that talk about family and Thanksgiving, and then to go to a game that's playoff wise. They don't know necessarily who they're playing. Oftentimes, if you're not hosting, to your point, it's going to be a road game. Even if it's at home, can you pack the stadium and do you get your value of why you would want a home game? Second round, though, if you can get through that first round, I think that second round is something different. To me, that's where you spend your money to seek the host. Now, it goes up, but that's the round to me where you have a little more chance to get a little bit of that money back, if you would, for crowd attendance. And so I'm fascinated. There may be a couple of teams that are able to get significant attendance, but I'm not even sure they're going to get that Thanksgiving weekend. What are your thoughts, Drew?
Uh, good points you brought up, Dr. Cavil. I think about the first round. You talk about can we get fans to come out for the first round to justify the cost? Dr. Cavil, can you get staff to show up to deal with the fans who may or may not show up? Because everybody has Thanksgiving plans, Dr. Cavil. Let's be real about this. Staffing the game that time of the year is going to be tough. You mentioned the second round, Dr. Cavil. Would you want to be a SWAC or BAC team hosting the second round, going up against the Crickets, or going up against the SWAC championship game? Would you want to be another SWAC team that would be going up against the SWAC championship game, which is the second round of the playoffs? Let's think about that, Dr. Cavil.
Then you go to the third round,
you're up against the Cricket Celebration Bowl. So while what you propose in theory is good,
I didn't add on the SWAC championship game. I didn't add that component. So you're right. That makes it even more difficult.
Yeah, BAC opponent, baby.
Particularly if the team having the home game, let's say it's Alabama A&M, and Alabama State is hosting the SWAC championship game.
Oh, no, Dr. Cavil, let's be real. If it's anybody and Jackson State is hosting the playoff game, anybody else in the SWAC and Jackson State is hosting that second round game.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, anyway, just some things to think about. So I'm gonna be honest. But Dr. Cavil, here's my other point. In order for us to host the second round, that means we have to build a schedule that will even allow us to be in consideration
no doubt.
for hosting the second
if
round.
You are seeking that, you do have to have a strong schedule. And then part of that, the challenge you have is even if you have a strong schedule, you still need help with your conference having a strong schedule. And I don't know if that's fair for the rest of the SWAC to have everybody on the same page. The other thing that I've noticed about follow FCS, while it's supposed to be a year-to-year analysis, there is some bias internally for folks on that committee that look at teams' past playoff performances. So if you're a perennial playoff team, you're going to get the benefit of the doubt. And if you're a playoff perennial team, you're more likely to bid higher on hosting the game because you've grown a tradition, which we've seen on the opposite side, about hosting games, and your fans know what that looks like. They kind of plan their Thanksgiving around participating in the playoffs and hosting a game. So those folks pay more than the minimum. So that's the thing that I'm not sure people consider too. When you talk about not only paying and there's a minimum threshold, if you really want to be in the spot, you got to think about paying a little more. You got to be aggressive if you want to make sure that you host the game.
Yeah, correct. Before we get into the matchups, Dr. Cavil, final from
what you got?
Final Norfolk 57, UMBS 51.
Woo. Be interesting what people are saying about Maryland Eastern Shore. They do have a big one on Saturday where they get a chance to bounce back.
But it's on the road.
And I was going to say, you're right, it's on the road, so it's just as tough. After Howard is playing really well, we saw the victory that they just put up, so they're going to feel very comfortable about themselves. But that Saturday matchup becomes even more important for Maryland Eastern Shore now after that loss at home against Norfolk State. With that being said, let's look at some of these men games. Let's start in the MEAC in terms of your thoughts here. Well, I'll do this. I'll give you the Coastal in terms of the men for Saturday. No Hampton or A&T playing. So let's go to Tennessee State. Remember, they have a game today, so it'll be interesting to see what that looks like because they're squarely in the hunt. They tip off at 7 o'clock. That game is on ESPN if people want to check that out. They're at South Indiana. That's a Division II team that moved up a couple of years ago. They are struggling a little bit, if you would, in terms of just 2-12 in the conference race, 5-18 overall. So this is a game that Tennessee State has to find a way to win to keep pace with UTM Martin. Remember, they beat UTM Martin early in the season, so they have that early victory in the belt. They get a chance to play them again. They sit at 10-4, so this is one they got to find a way to get. And then on Saturday, Tennessee State plays Morehead State. Now that's a team that sits 9-5 in the conference standing. That is 2 games back of UT Martin. That is 11-3. So that's the one that's a tougher matchup, particularly on the road. So keep your eyes in terms of Tennessee State, what they have to get done today and Saturday. In terms of the MEAC, where we can get a little bit of discussion, you have Delaware State and Norfolk State, Morgan State at South Carolina State, Maryland Eastern Shore at Howard, Coppin State at North Carolina Central. Then on Monday, you have Howard at Delaware State, Morgan State at Central, that's North Carolina Central, Norfolk State at Maryland Eastern Shore, Coppin State at South Carolina State. 80 Drew, I'll stop here. Then we'll look at the SWAC. What are your thoughts in terms of the MEAC? Anything on the men's side that has your interest going into week number 7?
Well, obviously, we have to look at Monday night with Morgan and Central playing each other.
Yeah, that should be fun.
If there's a sexy matchup this weekend, that has to be the sexiest matchup. But if we can't go out with her, we got to look at the other one that's also occurring on Monday night with Maryland Eastern Shore and Norfolk. That would be a good runner-up game, Dr. Cavil. So Saturday, I'm looking Saturday to pretty much go chalk. But my intrigue game's going to be on Monday night.
Particularly with Howard at home against Maryland Eastern Shore. After Maryland Eastern Shore has slid so much, you don't think that they can fight up the Bison?
No, I think the one. While you bring up a good point, I think the one that's going to intrigue me more is Maryland Eastern Shore at home against Norfolk.
Okay.
Can Norfolk go on the road and handle business and become the Norfolk that we are used to seeing? That's why that game intrigues me, Dr. Cavil.
I feel you on that. That's a good one. Good point. Let's get into it. Let's get into the SWAC in terms of their Saturday, Monday matchup. Starting with Saturday, you have FAMU at Jackson State. Both teams, as I said, in conference race sit in 6-5. So you know they want these victories to see if they can go on a run. You have Arkansas Pine Bluff at Alabama State. Alabama State had a tough overtime loss on Monday to Southern on the road. Now they're hosting Pine Bluff. It's hot. It'll be interesting to see what takes place here. Then you have that Bethune-Cookman team on the road at Alcorn State. We know what the Wildcats are doing. Can the Braves get anything done? I'm not too sure about that. Mississippi Valley State at Alabama A&M. Alabama A&M wants to take advantage of a Valley State team that hasn't been able to get a victory, particularly being at home. Then you have Grambling at Texas Southern on Saturday. Both of these teams are fighting to see what they can get done to get out of that middle of the pack. And then you have Southern at Prairie View. This is intriguing. These are two teams that believe they should have better records, but many people say you are what your record is, and they get a chance now to change that on Saturday with their record. Then on Monday to close out things for this week number 7, you have the partners crisscrossing. With that means Mississippi Valley State now is Alabama State. You have Bethune-Cookman at Jackson State. You have Grambling at Prairie View. You have FAMU at Alcorn State. Arkansas Pine Bluff at Alabama A&M. Southern at Texas Southern. Boy, you have some good matchups in terms of teams that are in the middle that get a chance to maybe stretch things out. Or do you have a lot of teams splitting again this week where things just stay the same with teams still in the middle of the race. What are your thoughts in terms of those SWAC matchups this week, Drew?
Saturday game that has me watching my eye occurs right there where you're at right now, Dr. Cavil, with Grambling and Texas Southern on the men's side. A Grambling team that everyone was so bullish on during the non-conference portion of the season.
Right.
And Texas Southern is Texas Southern. I mean, what can we say about Johnny Jones down there at Texas Southern? So is is Grambling for real and can be in contender? We know they have the talent,
Right.
or is Texas Southern getting back to those Texas Southern ways? This is going to be one of those litmus test games for the Tigers. Well, I say the Tigers, but you can flip that to either one of them when you talk about those two teams. Monday night, Dr. Cavil, has to be Bethune-Jackson State, Dr. Cavil. I mean,
Right.
Bethune-Jackson State. But let me back up. Jackson State, Florida A&M on Saturday. Consider Jackson State was a team that came in, knocked FAMU off in Tallahassee, and started the 4-game slide that FAMU went on. So does Coach Ward try to get some get back against Coach Mo Williams in that particular matchup. But going back to Monday, Dr. Cavil, Bethune-Jackson State, especially if Jackson State, and I don't believe I'm getting ready to say this, Dr. Cavil, if Jackson State is able to beat FAMU on Saturday, that makes that matchup that much more intriguing with Bethune-Cookman on Monday. And Dr. Cavil, hey, y'all got all the matchups right now because I'm really interested in that Southern Texas Southern matchup on Monday also, Dr. Cavil. Once again, which one of these teams, because Southern is right there on the cusp. So a statement victory by either one of these teams it could really vault these teams into good positions for the playoffs.
Good stuff. Let me give you the last updates before we call it a show.
I just want to get into the CIAA SIAC quickly before we go out here. Go ahead. You want me to jump into it? Well, unfortunately, CIAA, everything Saturday, it should be pretty much chalk games, Dr. Cavil. Johnson C travels to Fayetteville. Shaw travels to Winston. Elizabeth travels to Virginia State. Claflin on the road at Livingstone. In Union travels to Bowie and Bluefield State to Lincoln, PA. Pretty much chalk games as far as I'm concerned, Dr. Cavil. Nothing really intrigues me right there. But let's go to the SIAC, Dr. Cavil. And remember, a few weeks ago, we were talking about using these holiday weekends for those rivalry matchups. Well, SIAC got it right. Listen to this lineup of matchups on Saturday, Dr. Cavil. Clark travels to Morehouse. We say travel, they really can walk across the street. Central State travels to Kentucky State.
Nice.
Allen travels to Benedict. Once again, walk across the street.
Through the fence.
Yeah. Lemoyne and Lane. Miles travels to Tuskegee. Edward Waters travels to Savannah State. The only one out there that's not a rivalry matchup, Dr. Cavil, is Albany State traveling to Spring Hill. So
I like it.
SIAC got it right on a holiday weekend, Dr. Cavil.
No doubt about it. Really good. I like it.
Yes. So
let's get in these scores. It's heating up here, I will tell you that. But we'll save the score for you. We got FAMU knotted up on the road at Alcorn State, 34-34 with 7:05 left in the third quarter. You have Alabama State at home taking care of business against Mississippi Valley State, 43-32. You have Arkansas Pine Bluff just getting beat up by Alabama A&M on the road, 54-30 with 15-14 left in that one. The Tigers have gone on a barrage of 3 to close up the game. Again, I'll teach you with that score shortly. Let me give you Bethune-Cookman. It's up over Jackson State at 29-25 at the half. And you have Grambling opening up even a wider Whoophead stick with the score of 61-38 with 3:36 left in the third quarter. And right here, you have a barn burner with Southern just up 35-33. Jaguars had went up 9. And then you had Texas Southern hit 2 threes. Southern scored a basket, and then you came back with another 3 by Texas Southern, so which cut the deficit to 2 points. It is 35-33 with 4 minutes and 3 seconds left in the third quarter. That last 3/4, the Southern Jaguars head coach to call a timeout. And with that, we'll end it on that timeout, AD Drew, as Charles is on the road along with Mike. Let me say thank you, Drew, for making it happen as you always do. Thank you for our listeners to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Making sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta, Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop. We're getting down the stretch, Drew. Rivalry games this weekend, SIAC, some key matchups, CIAA, at least to keep the pace that you have. When you talk about men's and women's, when you go to the SWAC and MEAC showcase today with the women, we got our first big score with Norfolk State taking down Maryland Eastern Shore. And you got some barn burners going on in the SWAC, but you have Alabama A&M, who leads the women's side, making a statement over Pine Bluff. But we have some key matchups on the men's side, so keep your eyes on those games. Again, I want to thank you for listening to Dr. Mills Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday, 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. We look forward to next week as we will discuss the latest news in the lab. I'll get to watch my 4-wall TV next week, and we'll have the show from the office as we start to close things out. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Threads, Facebook, Instagram. That's DrKenyattaCavil. That's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Facebook. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Course, Drew.
Lecture.
Dismiss.